Hello, hello, my beloved waking gods and goddesses, and welcome to my new YouTube channel, Love, Truth, and Beauty. Do it yourself for Divine in the Flesh, where your pain, trauma, suffering, and dramas are actual golden gateways to waking up and staying awake. This is episode 5 already. My God. Healing the father wound, forgiving sins of the father, embodying the divine masculine within. And today I'm going to be facilitating a guided meditation and initiating you all into the gifts of the divine masculine within each and every one of us, men, women, and boy and girl, moving us all forward toward forgiving our fathers, our dads, and all men, and all the inner masculine energies residing and animating all humans. And we are opening and leaning into the possibility of forgiving the masculine for all his sins and shortcomings. Before we get started, please like this video by giving us a thumbs up. Please also subscribe and do hit the notification bell along with hitting all in that YouTube notification Dropbox expansion menu, whatever you call it, so that the YouTube will let you know when I upload. My upload schedule is Tuesdays and Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern. I want to thank you all for your support and all the really, really nice emails and calls that I've been getting. I know a lot of you are shy to leave comments, so I really do appreciate it. My name is Maria West, and I am your hostess of the highest, here to download, upload, inspire, and usher you all into your bestest and brightest light, your bestest and brightest selves, inviting you to open your hearts, opening them up wider and wider still, emptying your minds, and inviting all our inner children, our misunderstood inner punky-ass teenagers, our frustrated, overworked, pissed off, underpleasured adults to come out and receive, inviting you to give your bestest love and appreciation to one and all, particularly beaming love and our gratitude to our beautiful planet, assisting her to enhance her earth of magic and repel and rebalance this man-made techno-environmental worldwide shit show that we all are affected by, and remembering the world is not the planet. Here we are again, and we're sharing this beautiful time and space in this gorgeous matrix of light and love that spans the curvature of our earth in all directions, thanks to all our techie toys on the YouTube. So I want to start off with an anchoring meditation. So get yourselves situated into your comfy places and have your water or tea ready and your journals and pens close by. I have a lot of information to share with you, and I realize that I'm going long in these recordings, and I want to apologize, but I don't want to apologize. I do and I don't, simply because there's a lot of content, and I don't want to shortchange you. I have a lot to say, I have a lot to share. So do understand that I will put timestamps down in the description box and also in the comment section, just so you can jump around if you need to when you check out the video. So, all right, my loves. So just gather yourselves in, go inward, closing your eyes. And let's all receive a deep breath in and letting it out. Allowing yourselves to fully arrive in this moment and land here right now in this room, whatever room that you are in, wherever you are, however you are, in your comfy chair, on your bed, on a couch, on the floor, in your car. And just allowing your breath to fill your body with life force pranic energy of all colors. Trusting your body to receive the colors that it needs to move into greater clarity. That's it. Nice and easy, in your own timing, honoring your own rhythm, honoring your own way, and just allowing your attention to drop in your body. Just noticing any sensations or perhaps any resistance to sensation, any aches and pains in your body that may be calling out for your attention. On a huge inhale, bring your palms together, pressing them into each other in front of the middle of your chest. And on an exhale, feel your body relax and let go, allowing however you let go to be as it is. No judgment, no particular way, just inhale, exhale, let go, utilizing your own rhythm, your own way. On another huge inhale, move your palms, still in prayer position, palms together, a namaste, in front of your heart, and move your palms so that you move them just in front of the most sensitive part of your heart. Trust that you know where the sensitive part is. Trust in your knowing. This sensitivity that you are feeling is your closure to love. Allow this closure. It's just based on fear to open and release. Keep breathing, my loves. Keep breathing. And just really trusting in your knowing, trusting in your beingness, allowing yourself to revel in the awareness that you are experiencing this very moment of whatever it is that you are experiencing, and magnify your awareness. And trust. On an inhale, think of a male figure who challenges you these days. And just bring that male figure, that image of whoever this male figure is, into your mind's eye, into your awareness. Just keep breathing, noticing what kinds of sensations are occurring, what kind of thoughts, and just allowing them to flow by. And on an exhale, give that awareness you are experiencing away to that male figure, that person. And magnify your feelings and your awareness of doing this. Keep breathing, my loves. And as you breathe, inhaling and exhaling, allow that person's image, that male figure, to dissolve. And just notice what's happening in your body. Just allowing your breathing to deepen, allowing your breath to just flow in and out. Noticing on the in-breath the quality of receiving this breath, and receiving this breath into your heart, where you transform this breath, adding more love to it. On a huge inhale, think of your father. Exhale slowly and allow any feelings, energies of stress or emotion to arise. And notice any sensitivity in your most sensitive place of your heart. Thinking about your father. On an inhale, place your right hand over the front surface of your heart, over that most sensitive place. And on an exhale, place your left hand over your belly, allowing your left hand to feel your belly. Notice any tension. Notice the quality of your breath. Breathe deeply. Breathe deeply as memories of your father arise, allowing them to just be as they are. No need to figure anything out. Let us call on our master healing angels, our guides, our unseen friends, and our collective higher selves. I'd like to call in Anandamaima in co-creating this healing space for a beautiful planet Earth and all her creatures and all our beautiful brothers and sisters who are here to make some changes, shifts, and releases with their fathers, men, and the masculine. We ask that these changes, shifts, and releases come forth readily and easily. Everything we're all able to and willing to dissolve at this time. All our fears and terrors and worries and stress and our helplessness, our deepest grief and despair. Dissolving our anger, rage, and frustration and our lack of trust. Dissolving our guilt and shame and feelings of lack and self-doubt and not good enough. Bringing light to those captive in darkness. Dissolving our judgments, our hate and criticisms, and our closure to breath, our closure to love and our divinity. Opening our hearts and minds to align ourselves with the possibility of forgiving all of our fathers and the men in and out of our lives, past, present, and future. Forgiving our own masculine energies that have caused us harm. Allowing our inner victim to step into the wide expanse of victorious, allowing healing and transformation to occur in all our relationships, all for the highest good, the deepest possible truth, the innermost clarity and peace, and most profound of healing. And so it is. Allowing your breath to fill your belly with life force pranic energy, which is light. Feel the colors of prana. Notice the color or colors of prana you are attracted to receiving. Amplify your trust in what you are receiving. Trusting your body to receive the exact color or colors that it needs to move you into greater clarity, greater awareness, moving you into greater receptivity, opening your heart wider and wider still. This receptivity, which is an aspect of the divine feminine principle of receiving. That's it. Nice and easy. Inhaling, nice and easy. Exhaling out, giving all your loving breath, knowing that the action of giving is the divine masculine principle, which completes the divine circuitry of our seventh sense of our innate generosity and care. Allow yourself to revel in this awareness. Bringing your Father, allowing your heart to open, to surround Him in your love. Gifting that love to your Father and awareness you are experiencing to Him. Magnifying your feelings of generosity and care, even if you don't know Him, or perhaps you hate Him. Feeling into your tender heart that survived the slings and arrows of hurt and betrayal and loss and sadness and grief and despair and perhaps hatred. Keep breathing, my loves, in your own timing, in your own way. Linger and savor this feeling of your innate generosity and care. Now think of your father, or the man, or the woman perhaps, who stepped in as your father or father figure during your formative years. And if you didn't have a father, imagine him anyway, bringing this image of this father figure person into your heart. Keep surrounding him, this person, in your love. Allow your love-infused exhale to transform any feelings, energies of stress or emotion into more love. Whatever love you have that is living you right now, gift that love to your father, this father figure, man or woman now, regardless of whether or not he's on the planet, regardless of whether or not he was the father you really wanted, regardless of what kind of love he gave you, even if he wasn't able to give you any love or was never in your life for whatever reason, gift him your love anyway. Gift this love because you can, because you really do care, and because your love is bigger and vaster than any grievance you may have toward him. And magnify any relief or pleasure or sweetness you are experiencing in this intimately loving gesture of gifting love to your father, this father figure. And notice any other emotions that arise from this loving gesture, and gift your love also to those emotions, even if those emotions are of rage, hurt, sadness, vengeance, resentment, sorrow, shame, grief, longing. They transform into more love. Allowing whatever emotional state that arises to be as it is, nothing for you to fix or get away from. Just witness it transform into more love. Knowing that your witness is storyless, without any judgment or evaluation or criticism about any given moment. As you do this, let yourself be breathed by the divine effortlessly. Rest and linger in this space with your eyes closed, and open them in your own timing. Notice any energies and light you perceive to be surrounding you. Noticing the quality of that light, any energies, the quality of your perceptions. Together in this time, space, body, mind. am here to initiate all of you into the realm of forgiveness of our fathers, forgiveness of their sins, and any grievances you might be carrying, might still be carrying, including the mistrust of the dysfunctional masculine in all of us, men and women alike, so that we can all open to embracing the divine masculine and the divine masculine principle of gifting, giving. Okay, we're not here to bash dad, papa, father, bash men and the masculine and invoke any kind of havoc or vengeance toward the patriarchy or anything like that. And the timing of our program is so kismet. The world shit show continues, and of course, there are the male authoritarian figureheads that are in receipt of the rage and blame of consensus reality that never, ever, ever, ever takes responsibility, any self-responsibility for that matter, but dumps all accountability onto that particular face, that particular flavor, that particular bad man. All right. The world at large is like a huge bed of quartz crystal, transmitting everything without edits, without censorship. Hence the shit show. It's like a cesspool of trigger-happy craziness, and we go to war with one another, and we have these emotional debates that are based on emotions and not facts, etc. So if something I share or say triggers you, own it. Find out what's within you that's holding your life force energy hostage from something I said. Take emotional responsibility for your actions. I'm just saying. The truly awakened person is not moved to ignore or repress any illuminated wisdom, any debate, or hard emotions, nor tricky situations for that matter. So rest assured, we will not cave into the pressure to remain conventional in this reality. And if this disturbs the status quo, well, so be it. All right. So I know I'm talking a lot already. I want to recite this poem by a good friend of mine, a wonderful healer, didgeridoo master, a spiritual rapper. His name is Astarius Miraculii, and this poem is called The Sacred Apology to Women. Okay? Dear women, I have found great joy on the occasions when I have been your champion and supporter. In order to support and champion you fully, I now take responsibility for the times I dishonored you. I am so sorry. I apologize for every time that I crossed your boundary, dishonored you, was inappropriate, hurt you in any way, consciously or unconsciously. I apologize for every father, grandfather, and uncle. I apologize for every brother, cousin, and son. I apologize for every husband, boyfriend, friend, and stranger. Please forgive me. Please forgive us. I love you so much and appreciate you with the passion of heaven. You have greatly helped and empowered me. Without you, my growth would be non-existent. I honor you as the portal that has given birth to the entire universe. And once again, that was written by my dear friend Astarius Miraculii. And I'm sorry, I botched up his name earlier, and I can't read my own notes. Okay, clearly, unconscious man has his work cut out for him. I mean no disrespect to men, all right? I absolutely adore men, and I will champion them, all right? The world is a really, really hard place to be at times, and the ascent of the divine masculine is a difficult one, and in my opinion, perhaps much more difficult than that of the divine feminine. The collective horrific atrocities, mostly upon woman over time, result in an incredibly intense, heavy, and cumulative emotional, energetic pain body. All right. And this heavy pain body in women, I believe, contributes greatly to the quicker awakening of women into consciousness and spiritual awakening. Unconscious man, as the perpetrator of these atrocities, is conditioned to callous over any feelings that render him vulnerable. A lot of men are like really programmed to like not have any feelings because feelings are they're shameful, they're not manly. Unconscious man's programming doesn't allow him to feel pain, and if he does, other automatic programs are accessed, allowing him to readily distract himself in a variety of ways from any discomfort. And of course, what are these distractions but sex, drugs, rock and roll, violence, and work, alcohol, television, etc. Just like woman, man is conditioned and programmed from birth to be unconscious. And so this unconsciousness successfully passes on from one generation of his tribe to the next and the next. This happens with women too. The absence of one conscious man or conscious woman in any tribal collective perpetuates an unconscious legacy. So in other words, it only takes one conscious person in your tribal lineage in all directions to unhook the tethers that keep the tribe enslaved to the war between the sexes and this agenda of divide and conquer. All right? So those of you listening to this, I'm pretty confident that those of you listening to this, you are that one person in your tribal system, your family system, that is awake enough to do the work and to complete it. So our tribal and family links attach in from all directions, and they are the basis from which all of our relationships are formed. And of course, what is life? It's all about relationships. Whether relationships are with people or the material concepts like money, material things, or the planet and nature, it is our family of origin who downloads us with pre-programmed fundamentals about all subjects. And of course, from this foundation of beliefs, we rise or fall throughout our lives. Spiritual evolution requires that each of us examines all beliefs carefully, especially those handed down from generation to generation. And I hear it's so funny when I work with new clients and we talk about some of the beliefs of the tribe. Quite often I'll hear things like, well, that's just what we do. All the men do that, or all the boys, all the men go to medical school, or all the girls end up like this. I mean, these are these belief structures, these concretized patterns that go unchecked, unchallenged, unquestioned throughout all of the generations. Okay, that's not fun. And of course, the conditioning of boys and girls begins at conception. So, whether conscious or not, the attitudes and belief structures held by our parents, his parents, are the templates for a boy's birth into physicality. And these tribal systems are, I'm speaking mostly of the Western world, as well as other cultures. Because the tribal system, regardless of geography, is really at the helm of one's development. So we are essentially the sum of our parents' dramas and histories. And like woman's upbringing, man's upbringing is influenced heavily by his mother, which is the first interface with the divine feminine, and father, the first interface with the divine masculine, and all of their personal issues, those known or held in secrecy, or the lack of awareness thereof. There are no exceptions. And once birthed onto the physical plane, well, it doesn't take long for a child's egoic mind to take over his freedom and purity, numbing over his divinity. I call this, once we're born, our divinity gets dumbed down. And usually by the time we're like 4 or 5, depending on what we have to deal with mom and dad or the tribe, we really just kind of lose our authenticity, our innocence. We all begin to develop personalities by mimicking our parents, noticing their preferences and those seen on television and other forms of media. And we learn to make judgments about what behaviors are acceptable and not acceptable. Our young minds begin to habitualize and synchronize the incessant adult chatter of comparing, judging, and labeling things. And of course, our innocence strays rather quickly from here. In this day and age, unless a boy is completely isolated with no access to television or other forms of media, all boys and girls receive the majority of their imprinting and programming or mind control from the media. And every male I have ever worked with or personally have known has revealed the significant influence of television shows, movies, and magazines on not only their images, views, attitudes, beliefs, and judgments and thoughts regarding women, but also on being a man, being out in the world at large. The media's undeniable global presence, fake news and otherwise, whatever, influences, encourages, supports, and solidifies the legacy of unconscious tribal, cultural, educational, religious, and societal programming. This is all mind control. Not to mention our religious influences and our sort of moral relativism that we are constantly immersed in on a daily basis. And of course, the media's views regarding man and woman are varied, yet glaringly biased toward man as the conqueror, entitled to the world at large, and woman as his prize. Man's obsession with sex and power is consistently advocated, encouraged, and rewarded. Unconscious man remains true to his programming. How could he not be? So the path of conscious man arising includes a thorough excavation of all family issues and hand-me-down beliefs, as well as the acknowledgement and dissolving of cultural, educational, religious, and societal issues that are focused on the growing pains of boys becoming men. And a lot of the men that I've worked with often relate that the growing pains to feeling as if they would never, ever, ever want to even live up to the negative projected images of being a man as defined by their tribal programming. So men who undertake the great inner work, which is rare, which includes diving deeply in shadow work, well, they are a tremendous gift to the world and the planet. And the greatest gift to himself is family and humanity, because this great inner work allows him to heal his entire tribal lineage by being that one conscious person in his tribe, one conscious man who has integrated both his inner feminine energies and his inner masculine energies, and to emerge from the family tribe. So I know a lot of men who would like to do this work, but so many of them are just trapped in the daily grind of making a living for their families, making their way through the maze of the world. And this is not easy work. I mean, we women, we're much better at it, And so because we're better at it and our pain bodies are definitely much more intense, it's sort of part of the realm of women to like work on their emotional stuff and their mental stuff and look at mindsets. So obviously, with the great inner work, questions of self-worth, adolescence, peers, masculinity, sexuality, and one's purpose in the world has to be asked and answered through direct discovery. Okay, because none of this is mental. You cannot do the great inner work and have it be a mental experience. No, it is a emotional, mental, energetic, psychological, spiritual, it's chemical, it's biological, it's physiological, it is all these things. And all subjects must be cleaned and cleared up vibrationally. And clearly, tribal links and experiences shape man's trek into consciousness. I used to actually lead an all men's group, and these men were like really addressing the question of how do I deal with women. And this was actually part of a thesis project that I was working on when I was in grad school, and it was quite fascinating. And so there was just like this array of experience that I was able to witness with these men, and they were amazing men. And what I found to be very fascinating is that these men were like starved of being praised, starved of being seen and appreciated for their contribution into the daily lives of their families. You know, and I know a lot of women roll their eyes with tremendous disrespect. I'm so not into it. And that was like really the first time that I had like really connected with, oh, okay, this is an aspect of the inner feminine, because the inner feminine, the feminine wants to be seen. She wants to be appreciated. You know, the feminine learns through appreciation, and the masculine learns through challenge. And because whether man or woman, we each have inner feminine and inner masculine energies, well, it would make sense. Okay. Some men in the group, they grew up with absent fathers who had just abandoned their families for reasons unknown, or for reasons such as incarceration. And other men grow up with fathers distracted by work and busyness, or are too indifferent to spend time with their families and are absent anyway. And, you know, the classic businessman who's like gone all the time, and are clearly mom and dad are in these role-playing things. You know, mom's the housewife, she's going to keep the house, and dad is doing all the stuff out in the world, and who he has no time. Dad has no time to be with the kids. Some men also grow up without their fathers because their mothers perhaps felt that it was in their best interest. Better no father than a father who is a 3-time loser. So all of the issues having to do with drug addiction, alcoholism, or not being able to keep a job for whatever reason. Okay? Some men grow up in violent environments, physically and sexually abused. Some are raised by heavily religious environments that are fanatical, fear-based, severe, and stifling. I met a lot of men. I worked with a lot of men who were raised in very, very severely fundamentalist Christianity, which, I mean, these poor guys, and you could see just in their posture, the weight on their shoulders from just kind of like being beaten down and being controlled in terms of, you know, oh, you can't look up, you know, just kind of hunker down, you know, just keep in your own lane, don't look at anything, don't get distracted. And then, of course, there are those of us who grew up in families where the fathers and mothers fought constantly, or were violent with each other, or were lying and unfaithful to one another. And so many of us, men and women, we grew up with angry, critical, frustrated, pissed off, overbearing, over masculinized mothers who emasculate and ridicule men or just plain hate them. And of course, these boys and girls who are abandoned as youngsters, either physically or emotionally by their mothers who were either too young, or by their fathers who were either too young, immature, or troubled, or indifferent to step up to the task of nurturing and caring for their kids, it leaves a mark of this. It's like, I want to call it the Grand Canyon, this Grand Canyon hole in your being, because there is no understanding about this. So, I mean, this is just a list of varying scenarios of tribal influence and socioeconomic circumstance that shape men and boys and men into becoming the men that they become. And so the whole thing of doing the great inner work, I can't stress it enough. And yet, I mean, there's this joke about it, and I'm not going to go into it now, but maybe in a few minutes. So obviously, the general path of conscious man arising, it's a difficult one. It's like with the path of conscious woman, the path of consciousness is filled with the challenges of what I call dying to yourself to reveal your true self. And of course, we're all, as spiritual beings in a physical body, we're encumbered by the foibles of the physical plane. Like, we bleed, we hurt, we can be damaged by the physical plane. And we are also programmed to believe in limitations. And yet, we're all expressions of God, Goddess, all that is, as divine in the flesh. And so I know that part of what we're endeavoring to do in doing the great inner work is we're endeavoring to transcend these limitations in order to be more heart-based in our humanity, to awaken and open as love. So the great inner work it's beyond deleting mind control programs. Adyashanti says that if by embracing suffering you mean to not avoid it, then yes, embrace it, but do not indulge in it. Embrace the suffering so that you can go beyond it. And that is part of the problem in, I think, doing the great inner work, is if you engage with someone like a therapist or a coach or whatever who is unable to move you past your old stories. And this is where it gets really kind of, I think, tricky. So in my private practice, you are invited as a client or student to tell me your story, but you get to tell me your story really once. And then after that, we go through a journey of writing a different story, turning things into something that is transformed and where the lessons are embodied, and you get to tell a different story. And I think that's like really, really important, because otherwise when we wallow in our story, what happens? We tend to repeat it, and it gets done and redone and repeated, different time, same old shit, right? Okay, so that's important as well. So the continued journey of conscious man arising, it requires the painful extraction of himself from the collective male unconscious. And that collective male unconscious is inhabited also by women who, when they are angry, they are unable to move in the direction of openness and get caught up in the sort of reactivity by engaging in her own unconscious masculine. And the masculine takes action. The masculine is, part of the masculine energy is outward toward something, toward a cause. So the spewing of the rage of vengeance is very much a very masculine way of being and expressing. And so, this whole thing of conscious man arising and conscious man arising, taking on these painful memories, right? There is actually very, very little support for such an unpopular path. But fortunately, more and more men are they're brave, they're courageous, they're stepping into that mess, they're stepping up to the task. And it's funny because even in today's human potential movement, right? I mean, there's the whole thing of a real man versus the soy boy. The soy boy who's all developed in his feminine and all that kind of stuff, and very seductive and very pretty and all that kind of stuff. And yet I'm hearing more and more about the sort of narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic tendencies of this one. But, I think that's neither here nor there. I mean, let's just face it, a man exploring his femininity or gifted in a well-developed and balanced feminine is often ridiculed and categorized as a pussy, wimp, or a wuss by both men and women from all camps, conscious and unconscious. So I think it's kind of a cosmic joke, so to speak. So the images are very unflattering to the egoic male self, even though the balance of qualities in such a man indicates a higher conscious ability, opening himself up to championing what I call third level, third chakra relationships, that of compromise and negotiation, where I did the dishes tonight, you can do them tomorrow. I'll do the laundry and you can clean the bathroom, that kind of stuff. And then, of course, opening to the fourth level heart chakra based relationships that is based on conscious love. So conscious men and conscious women, they have to traverse the minefield jungle of the collective societal unconscious role playing through trial and error. So in other words, he becomes conscious man through the contrast of evolving from consciously realizing, oh my God, I am unconscious man. This behavior is an aspect of unconscious man. So he becomes conscious man by transcending his past abuse, disrespect, hate, manipulation, and violent use of woman. Then taking responsibility for his atrocities toward her as a charter member of the collective unconscious masculine. And it's through the great inner work initiated and precipitated by extreme personal and professional loss. I mean, isn't that the truth? We do the work when shit hits the fan, when we are betrayed, when there's emotional pain, when we end up somehow in jail or in prison, where there's a health crisis, cancer, a physical injury, or a sudden sense of self that is beyond self, okay? This sort of existential, like, what the fuck is going on, okay? So this process, conscious man learns to release himself and embrace his own divine feminine energies as well. And so part of this inner work is about releasing yourself from the influences of the past matrix system realities, the collective, the all-encompassing limiting programs based on tribal, cultural, educational, religious, societal, historical, media connections, and manipulations that otherwise want to keep him unconscious. As conscious man arising purifies himself, he reveals not only his inner work and heart opening, but also his ability to remember what it means to live from the true principle of the divine masculine as the true gifter and the true giver. So, having dissolved past conditioning and programming through doing the great inner work, conscious man arising faces the world with innocence and vulnerability that is rare, incredibly powerful, and potent. Conscious man is a life-affirming, life-giving man. because he's embodied in his feminine and also embodied in his masculine that will defend life. He allows his divinity to shine through. And conscious woman, having done her own inner work, now is in alignment with this true man divine. And I think this is like really important, because a lot of the times when we attract relationships, we will attract either our opposite or an aspect of our mothers or fathers that have not yet been healed or realized. So I think that's an important aspect when we are looking for partnerships, to like really be aware of the aspects of our moms and dads that are either still maybe unresolved, or at that point of breakthrough where you're ready to sort of drop it. Okay, because I hear so many times, oh my God, that woman was exactly like my father, or that man was exactly like my mother, or vice versa. So, just kind of check that out, and keep a sort of a log, if you will, in the back of your mind, or journal it out, and just kind of take notes on the kinds of relationships that you have attracted up to now, and check out whether these relationships were aligned with mom or dad, or maybe you're just one of these lucky people that, really didn't have to even go there. Okay? Each man's journey to consciousness takes humanity an evolutionary step forward and brings into alignment with his true divine self. And conscious man, embodied in his masculine and feminine energies, is empowered with the ability to free the past pain of woman deep within, thus dissolve the world within her. Now, we're going to talk about that next time, the union of conscious man and conscious woman, and that is one path to wholeness with the divine. And that is the sacred marriage of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And one of the things in conscious lovemaking is that with conscious man, who's fully embodied in this awakened presence, the entirety of his body is thus imbued, just like with conscious woman. And so when they come together in divine lovemaking, the purification that happens through the penis and yoni, through sacred divine lovemaking intercourse, is a purification process. And at some point, I'm going to go into that and talk about it, and also talk about the foibles of sexual relations with unconscious woman or unconscious man, because that's a whole other thing. But I digress. Okay, so let's talk energy. Okay, because I want to review that. I'm going to review that over and over again. I got some comments and questions via email about a little bit of the confusion about female energies and male energies. So, talking energy, regardless of gender. Yes, regardless of gender, don't hate me, okay? This divisive shit, it kind of bothers me, because it wants to confuse the subject. We don't want to confuse it, all right? Because regardless of gender, both men and women embody male and female energies, the feminine and masculine divine energies. So in general, masculine energy is directive. It is projective. It is about taking action. It's about doing. It's about being like a rock, like a mountain, steadfast, strong, solid, focused, driven, never changing. Okay? And like it or not, our fathers are our first interface with the energies of the divine masculine and the world at large. Okay, so this interface and connection becomes our template for our own masculine directedness, focus, our ability to act on our own behalf, follow through, take action, and be out in the world. Okay, so I will speak for myself. As a woman, I have mostly been in my masculine, because of the nature of the work that I do. Teaching is very outwardly focused. Facilitating healing, facilitating groups, that's very outward in the world, etc. Okay, so for me, my imbalance has been about me not being in my feminine enough. So as a result, I mean, I'm just gonna put this out there. As a result, I have a tendency to attract men who are more feminine than me. Why? Because they're attracted to my masculine. Okay, so anyways, just something to think about. Something to think about. All right, going back to dad. Our dads are also our foundational templates for the men in our lives. And this is the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, and everything in between and beyond. So discovering the relationship between the divine masculine, our fathers, and here's the thing in the work that I do, food allergies, or rather more accurately, emotional energetic disconnections to wheat and meat are directly related to the relationship between the divine masculine, our dads, and the patriarchy and the world. Okay? And these affect absolutely our emotional, energetic, mental, and physical bodies. All right? So look at any family system in our neck of the woods and also in any other place in the world, and you can witness firsthand the breakdown of the traditional family. Okay? And more families live and or display the sorry fact of the disappearing father, whether this translates to emotional or physical abandonment or both. The results are psychologically devastating on children, regardless of gender. And it is a fact that a weak or absent father cripples both his daughters' and sons' abilities to achieve their own identities, their own sense of worth. Okay? So whether our fathers were active and present in our upbringings or not, their influence energetically, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually program our lives on many different levels, affecting our ability to embrace our masculine, feminine energies, develop healthy self-esteem, manifest our dreams, attract healthy relationships and love partnerships, and manifest abundance and peace out in the world. Okay? So men who explored their potential found truth and revelation in the masculine activities of meditation and prayer focus and steadfast awareness itself. So the action principle is not just about action, but it's about active stillness. Okay? And so, which is part of meditation. And these men were able to get more and more in touch with the inner archetypes of mature masculinity and were able to dissolve their patriarchal self and the other wounds of thoughts and feelings and behaviors, thus becoming more strong, centered toward themselves and others, both men and women. Okay, in the present crisis in masculinity at large, we don't need less masculine power. In my opinion, I think we need more of the mature, conscious masculine. We need more man psychology versus boy psychology, okay? So we're much too far in reaction based on our growth edges and the limits of our programming. And there's way too much bashing of the feminine and the masculine by the patriarchy and by the fake feminist reaction against the patriarchy. And through which, by the way, the unconscious, often masculine behavior that's often violent toward men is expressed with impunity. And I hear it all the time. Payback, man. Payback is a bitch, you fucking asshole. And it's like, okay, is that really helpful? I mean, I know there's a time and place for it. And, you know, I know that sometimes we do need to tell people to fuck off. But I think as a whole, we need to like kind of step back, because that payback, that vengeance is an expression still of the unconscious masculine being expressed through woman. through woman that is still required to do the deep inner work and move herself out of victimization and identity with being victimized as a woman. We need to get off that. I've done that work. It's a hard ass road. It's not fun. And I still have to check myself and not feel victimized by this, that, and the other thing. Okay? So it is time for the divine masculine to emerge. And I'm here. I have a strong feeling that he has never, ever, ever fully been actualized and embodied ever in our history. And I believe this is also true of the divine feminine essence of woman. And back in 2009, I think I mentioned this last time too, the Dalai Lama said that it was Western woman who will save the world. Okay, so it is up to Western woman to slow down. All that rushing around, that do that Western women do is actually the embodiment of the unconscious masculine mindset. That, ooh, time is running out. We got to hurry. We got to strive. We got to conquer. We got to be best. We got to be on top. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, stop. Okay, I'm exhausted just from saying that. That's pretty much endeavored to destroy the planet and hand it over to the powers that want to be. You get what I'm saying? That's not where it's at. Western woman needs to soften and allow the divine masculine within her to emerge so that she can teach her own sons and husbands, boyfriends and fathers how to do it. Okay? So by embodying the receptive principle of the divine feminine and fostering that in her own sons and daughters, allowing vulnerability to be an awakened trait within her and her man and in all men, we can start moving toward a more enlightened humanity, a more heart-based humanity. We're not going to do this by powering through and becoming more man-like, more pushy, more this, more that. Okay, it's not about that. And we are not bashing men. In fact, it is my view that the patriarchy is an actual attack on the divine masculine and masculinity, or masculinity in its fullness as well as femininity in its fullness. The patriarchy is a structure matrix system reality, historical, and at this time it desperately seeks to dominate not only women but men as well. Patriarchy is based on fear, as it is its flip side, matriarchy. Okay, the boys' fear, the immature masculine's fear of women, but also the fear of men. Boys fear women, boys also fear real men. The patriarchal male will not welcome the full masculine development of his sons or his male subordinates, nor will he welcome the full development of his daughters or female co-workers or employees. The patriarchy expresses what I call boy psychology, which we will get to in a few moments. And the biggest misconception or the lie perpetrated by the patriarchy is the notion that the dysfunctional male has evolved out of an incomplete connection to the inner feminine. Many men literally attribute this phenomenon as being overwhelmed by the feminine and having that be an ongoing issue. But the truth is that the dysfunctional male is really the end result of missing the connection with the deep and instinctual masculine energies, or rather the potentials of mature masculinity. Where are those models? Okay? The patriarchy and fake feminism both block access to such depth. The depth in masculinity that can only be experienced and embodied through meaningful and transformative initiations through which conscious manhood is achieved. Where's that? Okay? Boy psychology to man psychology. All right? I want to hear from the men. What are some of these transformative initiations? I'd like to know. Okay? When we hear about a man who can't get it together or get his shit together, it means that on a deep level, he is not experiencing and cannot experience his deep masculine wisdom that inherently resides within his core being. He's fragmented energetically Parts of his personality are split off from each other and leading fairly independent, chaotic lives. All right? This is an overrun. It's an overrun of the sort of uh, dark side of the feminine. This lack of focus. And he's probably not had the opportunity to undergo ritual initiation into the deep conscious structures of manhood. Okay, so what happens? He remains a boy, not because he wants to, but because no one has shown him the way to transform his boy energies into man energies. Okay, modern day men have lost conscious rites of passage from boys to men as performed throughout history in tribal nations. All right. Although much of these relate to hunting and gathering and assuming head of household positions for the survival of the clan, there was a sense of honor and reverence for masculine elders. And so modern day society now defers and glorifies its unconscious youth. And what do? We downplay and we disrespect older, wise men as has-beens, all washed up, old geezers, fossils, whose time and manliness have come and gone. Move over and get out of the fucking way. I mean, it's shameful. It's a disgrace to me. And so the drug dealer and, of course, our political leaders, the wife beater, the asshole screaming boss, the hot shit junior executive, junior law partner, the cheating husband, boyfriend, the company yes man, the indifferent grad school advisor, holier than thou, do as I say, not as I do minister, the gang member, the absent flaky father who never has time to show up, the coach who criticizes his entire team and his star players, and the therapist who unconsciously attacks his clients' gifts and seeks to keep them down and codependent on his expertise, the yuppie, the pretty boy stud womanizer who thinks he's God's gift, psycho boy, pretty boy, the narcissist, the snag, how about that one, the sensitive new age guy, the ne'er-do-well, the perpetually busy and distracted absent-minded professor, the rock star, movie star, guru, and addict, all have one thing in common. They are all boys pretending to be men. And they got that way because nobody has shown them what a real mature conscious man is like. And most of us, men and women, mistake man's controlling, threatening, and hostile, abusive behaviors as strength. Oh my God, they're not. In reality, he is expressing the extreme vulnerability and weakness and dysfunction of the wounded boy. So I wanted to just mention, and now I'm yakking away, I want to mention the archetypes of the immature masculine. So, these are triads. So at the top, the divine child, and at the base, on one side, the high chair tyrant, and on the other side, the weakling prince or princessa. Okay, so the divine child is the essence of our true spiritual natures and the gifts we are meant to bring forth. Okay, the high chair tyrant is the demanding brat that sees himself as the center of the universe and entitled to have everything given to him in perfection, or else there are consequences. All right? The weakling princessa is the lifeless, no personality, the boy that needs to be convinced and coddled and is kind of whiny and a hypochondriac. He's wimpy and critical and blames everyone for his sensitivity. Okay, so that's one. All right, then there's the heroine. Okay, at the apex. And then there's the bully on one side, at the bottom, and the coward, shrinking violet. So the heroine is the most advanced form of the boy psychology archetype. And he expressed himself during adolescence. And many males, they get stuck in this and they never evolve beyond this. And it's shadow poles, okay? The bully tends to impress others, and at the expense of others in an effort to hide his overwhelming insecurity, okay? And the coward or the shrinking violet tends to escape all responsibilities. He can't stand up for himself, take a stand, or follow through. He is the classic pussy, as they say. Okay? I mean, no disrespect. Okay? So that's the other triad archetype. All right? The next group, the precocious child. And, that's at the apex. And then at the base, there's the know-it-all trickster and then the dummy. All right. So the precocious child is the curious one seeking answers to universal questions like, why does the sun shine? What is the nature of stars? Why is the sky blue? He is naturally curious and drawn to discovery. He's a great student. Great student. Okay. Then there is the know-it-all trickster. The know-it-all trickster is the arrogant boy who tricks and judges and criticizes all those who fail his tests. He is the con artist who will play on what you reveal you don't know, or he will argue with you even if he doesn't know shit, and he's always right. Okay? The dummy, on the other hand, has taken on the projections of being a slow learner or not being good enough ever. He's the butt of every joke. He is awkward in his body and movements and speech. Okay? Next one, edible child. Oedipal child. And the polarities below, the mama's boy, the daddy's girl, and the dreamer. So the Oedipal child, like all immature masculine energies, are overly tied one way or another to mother, and are deficient in the direct experience of the nurturing, initiating, mature masculine. Notice, nurturing, initiating, mature masculine. That's one of the things. Nurturing is actually masculine because it's going from you out to another. So when you nurture someone, you're actually extending yourself outwardly. You're not receiving. Okay? You're giving. All right, back to this. Regardless, the Oedipal child is compassionate and has a deep sense of wonder and appreciation for the connectedness of his inner depths with others and with all things. His relationship to spirituality arises from here. He is affectionate and expresses through his experience with his mother, his primary relationship. Unfortunately, though, his mortal mother really represents the energy of the archetypal feminine. Eventually, his mortal mother will disappoint him. Until he's able to integrate this difference, he will project the Mother Mary Savior onto all women throughout his life. Oy Gewalt. Okay, so the mama's boy and daddy's girl. Need we explain this? The boy tied to mom's apron strings controls and possesses mother. She caters to him. He's excited by her. Men addicted to sex and pornography are typically mama's boys, or so I hear. The dreamer, okay, is the boy who could never capture and possess mother. This affects him in ways that isolate, alienate, and depress his life force energy. He is a loner and unable to relate, unable to know his truth. All right? So now there are the 4 archetypes of the divine masculine. All right? So the king, queen, and then we've got the tyrant and the weakling. Okay? Then there is the warrioress, and the sadist and the masochist. Then we have the magician, and then the manipulator and the denying innocent one. Okay? Then we have the lover, the addicted lover, the impotent lover. All right, so in the evolution from child into adult, the divine child evolves into the king and the queen. The hero child evolves into the warrior and the warrioress. The precocious child evolves into the magician, and the Oedipal child evolves into the lover. So I'm going to include these in the description box just so that you can have them and you can Google them and go deeply. But I wanted to mention them because they've come up in my groups. And so, just some really cool touch points to kind of contemplate. All right, so I wanted to bring up, we're almost done here, wheat and meat allergies. The representation in the Western world of, and especially in America, our national grain being wheat, and the propensity toward meat as representing men, the world. Daddy bringing home the dough, bringing home the bacon. Man is beefcake, man meat, etc. All right, these allergies, these emotional energetic disconnections, what they do, they create biochemical errors when it comes to the food that we are addicted to physically, emotionally, mentally, and energetically. And when you're addicted to a certain kind of food, when you can't have it, you become like this instant asshole, or you get kind of shaky and sleepy and just kind of moody. All right. The body will actually create opiates that render us drug addicted to wheat and meat and all the foods associated with wheat and meat. The resulting behaviors are pretty intense and extreme, from mood swings to acts of emotional, energetic, mental, and physical abuse and violence. Fast food and government handouts typically provide us foods that do not enhance life force, but dumb us down and addict us. It's part of the dumbing down of our divinity by allowing ourselves, to fall victim to the trappings of convenient, easy foods as we run ourselves into the ground, busying ourselves in an effort to run away from feeling and being. It's that resistance to sensation. And of course, by eating fast foods, we don't have to cook. We don't have to become intimate with what it is that we are putting into our bodies. Also, GMO foods are designed to taste amazingly yummy and create addiction, and programmed to control our vital forces and feed and maintain the low-level consciousness of the little beasties that dwell in our bodies, allowing the ones that harm us to proliferate. So in our digestive system, our intestines, our stomachs, etc., throughout our body, we've got these colonies of these little good bacteria, good things, good critters, and then we've got some naughty things that if they proliferate, they can make us crazy. And they have consciousness. They may be one-dimensional, two-dimensional, but they have consciousness. So in other words, like for instance, the whole proliferation of, say, candida, which is associated with a lot of sugar, your body gets a craving to it, and quite often it's not even you craving it, it's the little critters, craving sugar, cookies, wine, whatever. Okay, so be conscious. All right. So I've been yakking. I'm sure it's over an hour by now, and I said a lot of things. So this is just an initiation. We'll go deeply into some of these further down the line. So additional exercises exploring your relationship with the masculine and your dad. All right. This is part of the mirror work that I want you to do. So in front of a mirror, I want you to complete these exercises. Number 1, something I hated about my father. Number 2, something I wanted my father to give me. Number 3, something I wanted my father to tell me. Number 4, something I want to tell my father. Number 5, the gifts I've received from my father are. Okay, and the last one, with your partner, the mirror, okay, or with an intimate friend, someone you trust. You will, in what I call praise mine, praise mine is compliments, positivity. So you will, in praise mine, share with your partner or the mirror the great qualities of your father for 5 entire minutes. So set an egg timer, and you're going to describe your father's admirable qualities. And if you run out of things, be silent or repeat what you just shared. And if you didn't know your father, make it up. Okay. What are the qualities of father that you would have liked? Okay. I want you to think about and journal about your relationship with the masculine principle of gifting and giving, and the relationships with your father, brothers, men, your boyfriends, husbands, bosses, authority figures, your political leaders, your addiction to doing, and the world at large. What are the challenges that come up, and what are the gifts from these relationships? Answer this question. What is conscious man? What do you think? What do you think conscious man is all about? What are the qualities associated with conscious man? Alrighty, my loves, we are at the end of our time together. I know that was a lot of information. That was a lot of stuff. I do hope that you have enjoyed this video and have learned about some of the mechanisms of your own inner masculine, and perhaps are now observing your own responses to your father presently, whether he is in your life or not, whether it's a good relationship or not so good. Please give this video a thumbs up and a like. Please also subscribe and do hit the notification bell so that the YouTube will let you know when I upload next. I really do appreciate your support and participation in my offerings here. I know some of them are wacky. Please feel free to email me with any questions. You can leave a comment. You can also connect with me or work with me. All my info is in the description box along with the timestamps. I'm sure I'll do it. Okay, my loves, we are moving out of Capricorn season. Yay! And into the relief of Aquarius season. And so until next time, big love and blessings to you, my beloveds. Mwah!